the Rolls-Royce Ghost. So called because it sometimes seems to be haunted, with poltergeists as passengers. No. Nothing to do with being haunted or poltergeists or anything like that. Ghost is in fact the oldest name used by Rolls-Royce. Now, you obviously know Henry Royce, the engineer behind Rolls-Royce, and Charles Rolls, who is, well, he's sometimes unfairly, I think, just characterised as a salesman. But you might not have heard of Claude Johnson. He's sometimes referred to as the hyphen in Rolls-Royce because he was such an important character in those early years. Now, the first car that was actually produced under the Rolls-Royce badge was the 4050 horsepower, and Claude Johnson thought, that won't do really, so he had one painted silver and named the Silver Ghost. And that then caught on for all the subsequent cars, right up until the Phantom in 1925. So it's a very historic name, Ghost. And this is the latest Ghost. No longer is it based on a BMW 7 Series, instead it makes use of the same proprietary Rolls-Royce underpinnings as you'll find in the Cullinan and current Phantom. There is talk of post-opulence with the design, which is a rather Brian Sewell way of saying it's more subtle than the Phantom, a touch more rounded, a little less imposing, a more discreet design for perhaps more discreet customers. Personally, I think the front is still distinctive while not being overt, but the back is perhaps a little too anonymous. I do rather like the regal midnight sapphire paint of this car though, beautifully understated. Everything is relative, of course, because you can't really call something that's over 5.5 metres long and 2.15 metres wide discreet or understated. And it does feel gargantuan to drive. Not really because the steering is particularly imprecise, quite the opposite in fact, but more because the view out, it makes it so hard to place. You sit quite high up, it's almost sort of like mini SUV view out, but you've got this enormous bonnet. It's a good job the Spirit of Ecstasy is up here, otherwise you wouldn't know it ends. It's like a sort of infinity pool in front of you. I've no idea what's over there, where does it all end? Squeezing it down narrow country lanes or through narrow city streets is nerve-wracking. Under that enormous bonnet is a 6 3/4 litre, not 6.75, that doesn't sound quite right, 6 3/4 litre twin turbocharged V12, putting out 563 brake horsepower and 629 pounds-foot of torque. Despite the fact this car weighs 2,490 kilos, that's enough to actually propel it from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 4.6 seconds and onto a top speed that's limited to 155 miles an hour. The 8-speed gearbox, if you put it into low, which is really the only mode choice you have in this car, does pick up surprisingly quickly and makes it responsive on the way out of corners in a way that you might not expect for a Rolls-Royce. V12 sounds pretty good as well when it wakes up. With all-wheel drive to give consummate traction and all-wheel steering that can angle the rear wheels up to 5 degrees, the Ghost actually has a surprising turn of pace down a road. It feels a bit inappropriate, like having a kickabout after work in your suit and tie and going in for a slide tackle in your Savile Row, but that doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. But driving this car quickly, that's not really what it's about. It's actually at its most enjoyable when it's soothing its way down the road. It's at a more refined pace that you can enjoy this car's most pleasing quality, its ride. This car